Welcome to the 137th broadcast of the T Rose Show. It's your host, Keith. I got John with me.
Good morning, folks.
All right, what we're going to do here is talk about a few things that, man, people are not going to like, especially military folks. But that's all right. There's a lot of things that they do that we don't like either. So let's just not like each other. All right, here we go. We get a problem with a lot of the military folks, especially they have a hard time dealing with the fact that this government exists wherein it talks about their oath of office to the Constitution of the United States. This is the history of that flag. So let's just talk about it through the flag, and then problem solved, right, John?
If they can understand all of it, it will be.
Yeah. All right. So here's ancient Egyptian slave master flag. This is the truth. This is the way it works. This flag does come from this one right here, the modern flag of freedom, and with a little question mark on there, comes from ancient Egyptian slave master flag. It's an Egyptian flag. It's not an American flag. That's hard to deal with. We get it. We understand that's hard to deal with, but you know what? Suck it up. It's the way it is. So you were lied to, and you took an oath, and you were you were serving a company. Big deal. Get over it. All the dramatics or the drama and all the junk. Get over it. It's the way it works. This is the East India Company slave master flag right here. This was only changed. The field was only changed because they didn't like the way the British. This looked like a British field. Go read the history of it. I just read it just 2 days ago. Okay. Then you have the modern flag of so-called freedom. Well, this right here, this field right here, the blue field, this was George Washington's flag. It was 13 stars. And what did he run? Oh, I don't know, the Virginia Company. Coming from where? Oh, gee, think about it. We're going to show you exactly where it came from. That's the Egyptian flag. So it's not an American flag. Never was. So if you believe that you're a part of America and you're American, stop using a freaking Egyptian flag and a company flag. Here's a little history of the East India Company. And a lot of this stuff, we'll just go right here. This guy, Robert Clive, was a real piece of work. Let's go to this right here. This was a article in the Guardian. And this is the East India Trading Company, or the East India Company. Original corporate raiders. It says, for a century, the East India Company conquered, subjugated, and plundered vast tracts of South Asia. The lessons of its brutal reign have never been more relevant. Someone knew what they were talking about here. Now, one of the very first, I'm not going to read this whole thing, okay? So it's just 24 pages long, but one of the very first Indian words to enter the English language was the Hindustani slang for plunder, loot. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, this word was rarely heard outside the plains of North India. Okay, until the late 18th century, when it suddenly became a common term across Britain. To understand how and why it took root and flourished in so distant a landscape, one need only visit Powis Castle. Be Powis or Powis. The last hereditary Welsh prince. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Built Powis Castle at Craggy Fort in the 13th century. The estate was his reward for abandoning Wales to the rule of the English monarch. But its most spectacular treasures date from the much later period of English conquest and appropriation. Powis is simply awash with loot from India, room after room of imperial plunder extracted by East India Company in the 18th century. 18th century, 1700s. Okay, there are more artifacts stacked in this private house in the Welsh countryside than are on display at any place in India, even in the National Museum of Delhi. The riches include hookahs of burnished gold inlaid with empurpled ebony, and it goes on and on and on. Okay, Hindu gods and all that. Such a dazzle and blah blah blah. Okay, and you're welcome to read this. It's just a East India Company that's on the Guardian website. It says the painting shows scenes of August 1765, when the young Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, exiled from Delhi and defeated by East India Company troops, was forced into what we now call an act of involuntary privatization. Let me see what the, oh, I'm sorry, what was that? Involuntary privatization. Was forced into what we now call an act of involuntary privatization. That's why the U.S. is a private company. That's why it'll never be a nation. Give it up. It's not going to be a nation, never will be, never be a country. Because the owners of the company are not going to allow that. They lose control if they do that. So why would they allow the United States to become a country? No friggin' way. I don't care what the United Nations says or what it says on the internet. That's all BS. Okay? Now, involuntary privatization. Everything in this country is private. It's private companies, private this, private that. The scroll is an order to dismiss his own Mughal revenue officials in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, and replace them with a set of English traders appointed by Robert Clive, the new governor of Bengal, and the directors of East India Company, who the document describes as a high and mighty and the noblest of exalted nobles, the chief of illustrious warriors, our faithful servants and sincere well-wishers. Kind of sounds like supreme law of the land. Okay, that's what it sounds like. Worthy of our royal favors, the English company. The collecting of Mughal taxes was henceforth subcontracted to a powerful multinational corporation, whose revenue collecting operations were protected by, its own private army. This is the history of the flag that you don't know. The history of the stars and stripes that you're saluting every day, that Trump is trying to force people to be a part of. That's called forced association. It's illegal, by the way, according to the own company laws, your own company bylaws. It's called forced association. Okay? Whose revenue collecting operations were protected by its own private army. How many judges have said, we're protected by the U.S. military, we can do whatever the hell we want? That's because it's a company. Now, there's no other way to put that other than it's a freaking company. It's not a country where the people came together in a social compact, formed states, and these types of things. That never happened, and it still has not happened. It says it was the moment that the East India Company ceased to be the conventional corporation trading in silks and spices and became something much more unusual. Within a few years, 250 company clerks backed by the military force of 20,000 locally recruited Indian soldiers. That's you guys, by the way. Okay. A military force locally recruited. That's American soldiers, because you guys are American. You're just serving a U.S. military. The U.S. military has nothing to do with an American military. It is the Continental Army was an American military fighting for America, and the two don't have any relation to the other. Okay, the U.S. military did not come from and never fought in the American Revolution, ever. They weren't even close. We have it. They had to change all the seals. Is what happened, and make it appear as if it came from there, so they could get what? They could locally recruit American soldiers. So you can die for the company. That's how this operates. And become effective rulers of Bengal. An international corporation was transforming itself into an aggressive colonial power. And that's where the colonialists came in and all that kind of crap. Using its rapidly growing security force, its army had grown to 260,000 men in 1803. It swiftly subdued and seized an entire subcontinent. This was going on in the 1800s. Astonishingly, this took less than a half a century. The first serious territorial conquest began in Bengal in 1756. 47 years later, the company extended as far as the Mughal capital, Delhi. And almost all of India south of that city was by then effectively ruled by a boardroom in the city of London. Oh my God. A boardroom in the city of London. See, that's a different city. That's the Rothschild city. That's not the Queen of England today. That's part of the tripartite three-city-state empire: City of London, Vatican City, and City of Washington, D.C., and that's the flag with the 3 stars on it. Go look at the Washington, D.C. flag. That's the flag with the 3 stars on it. So,
Question.
yeah.
Where did Trump go the other day to have breakfast with the Queen? To a
Went to the City of
boardroom.
London, didn't he? Or the boardroom?
To the boardroom. That's correct.
Of the City of London.
That's correct. The 5 little windows.
Okay, what honor is left to us? Asked the mobile official named Narayan Singh shortly after 1765, when we have to take orders from a handful of traders who have not yet learned to wash their bottoms. In other words, none of those guys in there ever wiped their own ass. Y'all, everybody get that? When we have to take orders from a handful of traders, Traders, who have not yet learned to wash their bottoms. Sounds a lot like the Rothschilds, doesn't it? Where was the first place that that Trump went when he first got in office? The very first freaking place he went to the Netherlands and talked to the King Willem, because King Willem is tied directly into, through the Dutch East India Trading Company. He had to get orders. We even have it on the T-Row show, Coincidental News, where it talks about he doesn't make a move when it comes to Korea until the Bilderberg Group, which is, oh, I'm sorry, those are the people that run the company, the worldwide company, until he gets orders from them. You see, the Democrats and the Republicans are doing nothing more than pulling you in to the company. Both companies, private companies, called the Republicans and Democrats, they're 527 organizations, are designed to pull you into the company, to get you away from a country or a nation state. So when you're hearing people say, oh, well, this is fraud, that's fraud, blah, 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 when it comes to nation states and the United States of America and the government of the United States of America and the states of the union and all that, those are company moguls. Those are company people. They want you to believe in the company. That's how they are. So when we have to take orders from a handful of traders who have not yet learned to wash their bottoms, we still talk about British conquering India, but the phrase disguises a more sinister reality. It was not the British government that seized India at the end of the 18th century. Say you thought the British government did that. They didn't. But a dangerously unregulated private company headquartered in one small office, 5 windows wide, in London, and managed in India by an unstable sociopath, Clive. And that's what you have today. Why do you think there's all this chaos everywhere? Because these people are sociopaths. They don't give a crap about anybody but themselves. And that's why you have all this. Now, this same company has murdered over 60 million babies. dumped them in bins and all that kind of stuff, storage bins. We have stories like that on the T-Row Show website. You can go take a look. They're all over the place. We're showing what's going on, what this company is doing. Okay, there's one thing that we were going to talk about. We can upload this to the website, and you're welcome to read it. It says everything in there as to how this company operates. They come in and they subdue. You have to have their ID cards, the company ID cards, because they don't want you to have a national ID card. No form of nationalism. It's all the company. Because the company requires complete control in order to get all the resources that they need from the land. And once those resources are gone, they're gone. Once the land is stripped, they're gone. And what they're after are all the resources so they can make more products, so they can forward the consumerism. Okay, this is how they operate. This is the way they are. Okay, we wanted to go over one more paragraph in here just before we move on. It says, in many ways, the EIC is East India Company, was a model of corporate efficiency 100 years into its history. It had only 35 permanent employees in its head office. Nevertheless, that skeleton staff executed a corporate coup unparalleled in history. The military conquest, subjugation, and plunder of vast tracts of southern Asia. It almost certainly remains the supreme act of corporate violence in world history. For all the power wielded today by the world's largest corporations, whether ExxonMobil, Walmart, or Google, they are tame beasts compared with the ravishing territorial appetites of militarized East India Company. Yet, if history shows anything, that it is that in the intimate dance between the power of the state and that of the corporation. While the latter can be regulated, it will use all the resources in its power to resist. That's how it operates.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. At
Go ahead.
that point, too, they just moved it from the East India Company. They moved it from London. They brought it over here and made colonial America.
That's exactly what they did. Yeah.
That's correct, and it's still in operation today.
Right. And people are being, all Trump's doing is just repackaging it into something else that he's saying, well, that we have our own nation. It's impossible, Donald. We all know that. We know it. Y'all may not, but we know it. It's impossible because it's a company. It always has been. The history of its flag goes all the way back to India. Or I'm sorry, goes all the way back to Egypt. Okay? They thought that this country was going to be the new Egypt. That's why you ever thought of anybody in Tennessee naming anything Cairo? Cairo, Tennessee? They thought it was going to be the new Egypt under the East India Company flag, or the English flag. It says Cairo is an unincorporated community in Sumner County, Tennessee. Can you imagine that? Anybody in Tennessee saying that, oh, that's coming up with the name Cairo that you see there today? There's no way. There's other parts of if you go look throughout the map and then you look at the country, you'll see Egyptian cities that were placed everywhere. Lebanon, where do you think that is? Lebanon, folks, in Tennessee. It's right here. It's right by Nashville. But anybody today that would name anything Lebanon or Cairo, okay, so that's the part of the history that has disappeared. Now, we're not in any way, shape, or form in agreement with the squad. Okay, the 4 women that are in Washington that are basically puppets for other people, and we all know who the puppets are. We've put those videos on T-Row of who's behind AOC and all that. the Turks, the Young Turks, and all those guys. But this is only 4 minutes and 41 seconds. This will probably turn it into 10 because I'm going to stop it and make a few points. Let me make sure that you guys can hear the sound.
He is a Republican senator representing the state of Louisiana, and he joins us tonight. Senator, thanks very much for coming on. So the idea appears to be that if you call enough people racist, you can get elected president. Do you think that works?
No. And I think the American people are getting a little tired of it. I hesitate.
Okay, remember all right, just remember he does that a lot. Does that snapping. Okay, and what that is that's what they call these types of Southerners. Not all Southerners are like this, but these types of Southerners are ego-driven. And when they get disgusted over something that ain't working the way they like it, okay, but I'm going to show you something different, they do that crap.
To contribute to this freak show, but I'll offer you my thoughts, Tucker,
Yes.
for what they're worth. I don't think President Trump is a racist. I don't think his original tweet was racist. I think it was a poor choice of words, which is why he clarified. What he has said now in clarification is that this is not China, this is America.
You hear that smacking? Doesn't that?
And in America, if you hate our country, you're free to leave.
Okay, he serves the company. That's not American at all. And if you hate America, you're free to leave. Well, Senator Kennedy, you don't serve America. You serve the company. That was derived, its religion was derived in Egypt, and its flag was in Egypt. That's where it came from.
Now, he said that in response to the behavior of the 4 congresswomen that you're talking about, the so-called squad. I'm not sure the president should exchange playground insults with them. You know, when you
Company flag right there, Egyptian company flag. Started out in with the East India Company, is under City of London, its own city, privately owned, actually a company that's a city-state, which means it has its own sovereignty. It's its own country type deal, okay? It doesn't want, all right, let's put it this way. Notice one thing. The military won't give up its sovereignty. The Vatican won't give up its sovereignty. And the City of London won't give up its sovereignty. We're not talking about the Queen of England here. We're talking about the City of London, which is the financial center. It won't get up, but it wants you to give up your borders. Go figure, right?
you try to argue with a fool, that proves there too. But the president decided to do so. The simple fact of the matter is that the 4 congresswomen think that America was wicked in its origins. They think that America and its people are even more wicked now, that we are all racist and misogynistic and evil. Now, they're entitled to their opinion. They're Americans, but I'm entitled to my opinion.
Okay, these women are not Americans. He's not an American, and neither is Tucker. What they are U.S. citizens that are citizens of the company. They're corporate citizens, to make it appear as if they are there in America. But they're literally a part of the military that was put together to collect taxes for the company called the 1789, the United States of America. And it is all run and operated by men in the City of London, the financial center is, that don't even wipe their own asses.
Opinion, and I just think they're left-wing cranks, and they're the reason that their directions on a shampoo bottle.
Okay, and what he's talking about is agreed. Okay, this woman is a Muslim. We get it. We know what she's doing. This woman's Muslim. Ocasio is communist, and the other woman I haven't even watched. I don't even know who the hell's what the hell she is.
I think we should ignore them.
I wonder, though, if we can ignore them. I mean, the Democratic Party has made a decision to embrace and defend these 4 members. And by doing that, it's basically taken ownership of their positions.
They think, okay, he said these Dems thinks Americans are wicked. Well, come on, guys. Like I said, we're not on their side, on any sides here. But, you know, you got the freaking U.S. State Department tied to child trafficking and operations with trafficking operation with Epstein. I mean, seriously, U.S. State Department tied to child trafficking operation with Epstein. In other words, he was using their freaking plane. What? Come on. According to the Federal Aviation Administration registration database, Epstein's Bell helicopter and the Bronco owned by the U.S. State Department and contracted to a private military company, DynCorp, for counterinsurgency and counter-narcotics operations. According to the flight manifest filed by Epstein's pilot, David Rogers, on August 6, 2002, the Bell helicopter, N474AW, flew from Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico to the Double Eagle 2 airport outside of Albuquerque. This is the crap we're trying to stop. So, yeah, it looks evil. Okay? You have the U.S. State Department that is letting Epstein use his crap. Okay? Here's the freaking manifest right there for the to run children. Passengers: Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, model Naomi Campbell, Clinton, economic advisor, actor Kevin Spacey, Sandy Berger, Larry Summers. No passengers are listed on the Zorro to Double Eagle one-way helicopter flight. All right? Seriously? These Dems think Americans are wicked. No, we don't think Americans are wicked. We think people like you are wicked. You know, Mr. Kennedy, about this. But you don't come on any kind of interview and talk about it and smack your lips about it. Okay? And act in disgust.
And those positions will define the political season we're now entering. And I just wonder if that's not, as a political matter, a massive mistake. Is there a huge constituency? Is there a market for these ideas in America?
Well, there's no question that the so-called squad has moved the Democratic Party substantially left. What I was referring to, yes, Tucker, is, I guess, rule number 1 of political combat. Never interrupt your opponent when he's screwing up. Just let him screw up.
Yes.
And they are destroying the Democratic Party. It's just, I'm appalled that so many of our presidential candidates are falling all over themselves to try to agree with the 4 horsewomen of the apocalypse. Now, they're entitled to their opinion.
But, of course they are.
But I'm entitled to say that they're whack jobs.
Can I ask you one question quickly? So you represent a state where there are a lot of conservative Democrats, including, I would argue, your governor. You know a lot of Democrats. I know that you're friends with some. What do they think of this? What do they tell you in private about all this?
They're embarrassed by it.
Okay, and also remember, Senator Kennedy, you're from Louisiana, and Louisiana is a Napoleonic Code state. In other words, it's owned by the French. It's been owned by France for a long time. And Napoleonic Code is that which is forbidden, which is a common law state. That which is forbidden, all else is allowed. Okay. Napoleonic Code state says that which is permissible, all else is forbidden. Okay, so just giving you an example, in Louisiana, under something like that, if it says that everyone has to have a driver's license, all else is forbidden. Doesn't matter what it is in Louisiana. That's a Napoleonic Code state. You don't believe me? Go look it up. He's not going to tell you that. He's not going to tell you that it's all under French or France, the French East India branch of the East India Company.
They don't want to talk about it. They're embarrassed that this is dominating the discussion in Washington, D.C. right now, this freak show, when we have so many other issues to be talking about. Look, I've told the president before, I said...
All right, stop right there. John, how long did it take them to come up with a condemnation of what Trump said? 24 freaking hours, right?
Yes, it did.
24 freaking hours.
He had to go get permission to bring it forward.
That's right, and they had a condemnation thing within 24 hours. There's so many other things that just need to be talked about, and so many other stuff that we did this freak show that's going on. We're not on the side of Acacia, trust me. The government of the United States of America is neutral in all this BS because it's all company BS. They could have fixed the border crap years ago. They didn't. It took them 24 hours to put something together. It also took them 24 hours after 9/11 to put together the Patriot Act and have that done. Boom, shot through, no problem. They can move when they want to. How long did it take for them to put the impeachment shit together? Boom, one day. All of a sudden, the next day, they all have a vote on it. Boom, it was that quick. So they can move when they want to move.
I believe the Patriot Act was written several years before the act actually happened.
Well, 1989?
Yeah.
1978 or some crap? Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
When they wrote it.
Way back, and then they just brought it forward into a 001.
Right. So
they had it ready when they needed it.
They get their orders from the City of London, the financial center. That's who they do. Who does it? The Bank of New York Mellon is the servicer. And that's how they operate, but they're operating illegally. That's just how it works. All right, now let's listen to more of his crap.
Said, Mr. President, tweeting less would not cause brain damage, but he has decided this is the way he wants to communicate. And I do not believe his original comments were racist. I do not believe he is a racist. But if the Democrats want to continue to pursue this line and say that America is a wicked country and it was wicked when it was founded and it's even more wicked today and we need to tear it down and start over, I don't think the American people believe that.
I don't think the American people believe we have to tear it down and start over. Well, yeah, you do. It's a company. And guess what? We started that project 10 years ago and have done very well with it. But because it's a company and it's more powerful, it's anti-government. So imagine that, folks. In reality, this flag right here is a company flag. And they're anti-government because they're trying to destroy any form of government that's actually been brought up as with a social compact. They're trying to destroy that. Trump's trying to destroy it. How's he trying to do that? He's trying to shame people into standing up for that flag. He's trying to and force people to become citizens of the United States under no social compact whatsoever, which means they're corporate citizens, which makes them a fascist organization, which is exactly what the English or the East India Trading Company was in the first place, a fascist organization. We don't agree. That's their democracy, see? Democracy to them is what we all agree is real and what's not real. That's democracy to them. That's how they twisted it. It's not about the will of the people. It's, do we agree that this is real or that is real? Does that make sense? Is this real or that real? Does this exist or does that exist? If we believe it exists and we all agree that it exists, then it exists and it's okay. If we don't agree that it exists, especially if it's detrimental to them, then it doesn't exist. That's Napoleonic Code, folks. That's Louisiana for you. That's how Louisiana's set up. They could have slaves in Louisiana right now, and according to their type of democracy, Napoleonic Code democracy, if they say slavery does not exist in Louisiana, it does not exist. It's the same in every other state. That's how the company operates. The company operates on, we're the masters of reality. We say what's real and what isn't real. That's how they operate. And that's how these guys that don't wipe their own asses over in London operate. So just because you say something doesn't make it real or not real. You have to have proof and facts. These guys don't have facts. They don't have proof. They don't have anything. As to what they claim.
I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
No. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Great to see you, Senator. Thank you very much.
Anytime they ever say that, this is what they do. This is called a false humility.
Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Great to see you, Senator.
But I doubt it.
No.
American people believe that. I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
No.
I might be wrong, but I doubt that that's what it is. When that man right there knows exactly what's going on, he's not stupid. He knows it's a company, and you just got your ears tickled for 4 minutes and 41 seconds of nothing but lying on both sides of the table. Both the squad are liars, and he's a liar. They're all liars, and that's called wicked. That's wickedness. When you lie your ass off as to who you are, what you're doing, and everything else. He's falsely representing a company as a nation. There's the company who's operated by a completely foreign nation is speaking on behalf of the people here that they're calling Americans. They're saying that they're Americans, and they're not. They're U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens are not Americans. And that flag right there that you're seeing does not represent America. Never has. It represents the company that it came from. Why do you think on the back of your dollar bill, folks, you've got a freaking pyramid there from Egypt? With the Eye of Ra sitting there from Egypt. And didn't you think that they would actually adopt or bring forward their own flag too? From Egypt.
Flag.
Ancient Egyptian slave master flag sitting right up underneath there. East India Company slave master flag right here. And modern flag of freedom. No, I don't think so. This is George Washington's Virginia Company flag. And they all came from here. Ancient Egypt. There's the flag right there. That's your history, folks.
Yeah, where is CIA headquarters?
Langley, Virginia.
That's correct. That's where that flag rests, right there, with the company.
And it's not. The city of London is not going to turn it into a nation. They're not going to give you squat. Whose military is that? That belongs to the company. That military enforces through its agencies, believe it or not, its agencies, taxes and resources collected from the American people, not who are basically right now inhabitants, because they don't know that they're serving a company, a foreign company that's operated by people that don't wipe their own ass. They don't know how to wipe their own bottoms. That's how this is operating. We came in, took 10 years, 3 years, 16 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's not an exaggeration, to straighten all this out, honor the people that fought in the revolution, that did achieve their own states, and created the Confederacy of 1781 so that they could operate under their own steam and become independent. Well, the company didn't like that. So the company, a couple of months before the Declaration of Independence, they put together their own under the Illuminati. I can't remember what it was called back then. Under Weishaupt, and brought that crap forward through the Treaty of Paris, making it the arch treasurer. The prince is arch treasurer of the United States of America. Then brought in their company flag again, and started up right there. Back up again, and then claimed, oh, we're the nation now. We're the nation. There's only 39 of us to sign this, but we're the nation now. Rather than bringing it, they completely disrespected all the people that died in the Revolutionary War, there were a bunch of them on all sides. There were tens of thousands, and I believe into the hundreds of thousands of people that died. They like to only count the soldiers that died within, the Revolutionary War, our side. Then they completely ignore the fact that it existed. The Articles of Confederation existed and everything else. And then they claim that, we were a part of the Articles of Confederation, so we've got chain of title. Liars. Complete liars. So basically, whenever they're talking, they're lying. All of them. No matter who they are. Unless you're moving forward with, okay, folks, this is what we are. We're the company. Okay, you start talking like that, you'll start getting, my ears will perk up and go, oh, well, now we're entering the world of truth. Okay, and if you don't think that lying like that you'll pay for that shit, you got another thing coming. You know the truth. And they think we ought to start over. We already did start over. We're way ahead of you there, Senator. The company senator, Kennedy, way ahead of you. We've already started over. We actually set up 15 states. We've got people there that were having issues with running those states. And we've had a bunch of stupid-ass patriots that are still trying to bring you under the company constitution, lying and everything else, and worked on that for 3 years to try to get rid of all the assemblies, so those assemblies wouldn't attach to those national governments. They trashed all over on me. They trashed John. They called John a sovereign domestic terrorist. They trashed this government. They trashed everything, and all they did was trash themselves, because they're never going to get shit. They're not going to get one thing until they acknowledge this government here, the government of the United States of America, and the original states. Until they do that, they will never get anything they want. Never. It's not going to happen. It never will happen. And you're going to be around on what I call the Mecca Circular forever, until the day you die. When all it takes is simple resident declaration, start your own business, join the union, the original union of 1774, and eventually you can have enough business to support your own national government. And that's how it operates. The company is never going to let this go. The government of the United States of America is never going to take over the company. It's not going to happen. We're just trying to move on to our own right of self-determination, and our own road to independence. But you're not going to get anywhere by listening to senators that are consistently lying all the time, and to a president who disappoints me, by the way. He's lying, and we know he's lying. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to keep his military together. I get it. Okay. But still, military should know better than that. There's a lot of people in the military that know that shit, that know that stuff is wrong. And all you had to do was give us a call. Because see, Trump, we know you're working with Alex. Alex, none of you are going to get anywhere. None of you are going to get anything that you want, ever. It's simply not going to happen. Both of you are going to die with natural causes, I'm hoping. Okay, I don't wish anybody to be murdered or anything like that under national cause, but you're going to die without ever achieving one thing that you wanted or set out to do. You have violated the laws. You can't keep lying the way you're lying and expect to achieve it. I had one guy sending me an email, and I said, look, I said, you can sit there and believe in that crap all you want. It's not going to make any difference. Because he believed, he's one of those hardcores that believe that the Constitution was inspired by Jesus himself, and that if you reject the Constitution, you're rejecting Jesus. All right, seriously, that's what they think. And you're talking about somebody who's saved here, so I know. Okay, and I don't think that was inspired like that, but I know that's a manipulation. He actually believed. He said, he wrote back to me. I said, look, you're never going to get anything. And I know you're associating the Constitution with Jesus. And I know you're saying that if I reject the Constitution, that I've rejected Jesus, and therefore I'm a devil worshiper. I get it. I get what you're trying to do. It's wrong, but you're trying to do that. He comes back and says, well, if you can get enough people to believe it, then it's true. The Constitution does become theirs. Not true. Because the facts are, it's a lie. It's a company constitution. You're actually stealing from those guys that don't wipe their own asses over in the city of London. The best thing to do is tell them to get the hell out of your country and stop stealing your resources. If they don't, bomb them to smithereens. They're a very small country. It's only, I think, about, a couple of acres. It's a very small boardroom. Easy to take care of. And to flatten, by the way. Solve that problem in a heartbeat. Because they have destroyed more countries in this world than ever you could ever imagine. Folks, have you ever thought of this? Let's get into a wider point of view before we go here. Why do you have so many people coming from Africa? I don't know. They've already got all the resources taken and all wiped out in Europe. There's no more resources left in Europe. Gold, diamonds, oil, all that's gone. It's all gone. No more resources there. So what do? They get people in Africa to voluntarily leave their country, go into Europe. They know they're going to turn it into a shithole. Then what do? They leave and go to the abandoned African countries that have all the freaking resources. It's abandoned. Legally done. No conquering that needed to happen. They didn't even have to pay for bullets. People voluntarily left. So you go to those African countries that have nothing left. The people are almost all gone. You go in and settle, throw in a colonial settlement, and start taking all the resources that you need. And you're back in business again. Fairly simple. So really what it takes today is, let's get rid of the lies. Number one, the lies that the company or your flag is not a company flag. We know that. Okay? You can't steal the company from the city of London by saying, oh, we are now a country. Doesn't work that way. Why? Because you don't have a social compact. And if you come out with the fact that everybody needs to sign a social contract or a social compact, you've just admitted that you never were a country. So we get that. We understand that embarrassment. But I'd rather be embarrassed and humiliated and right than having to live a lie for the rest of my life. That every day I wake up knowing that I had lied to everybody and said, yeah, this company was a country. This company was a nation. See, it's much easier to be humiliated by the lie, okay, and by coming to the truth and saying, you're right. Okay, yeah, we got to give up a little bit of power here, because by the simple fact that we were in power and we helped a foreign nation, City of London, we're not talking about the Queen, by the way, the City of London, Rothschilds, we helped them murder 60 million children. Yes, you did. That's exactly what you did. Let's come clean. Let's tell the truth. You helped a foreign nation kill 60 million of your own people. And I don't care what you think a baby is. It's a baby. It's a people. 60 million of your own people. More than that, by the way. I'm just saying 60 million. Since 1973. Another 58,000 of your own people since the Vietnam War. Another 50,000 in the Korean. I don't know how many in the World War II, and I don't know how many in World War I. You've done all this on behalf of a foreign company. You sold your soul. We get it. But you need to come to repentance. Because believe me, all the power in this world today, it's not worth it. None of it's worth it. I would rather be humiliated and in shame for the rest of my life than live that lie. I'd rather confess than live that lie and try to remain in power. Because if you were humble, then this world can be a wonderful place. If you would just tell the truth, we could make a heaven on earth. But you won't. You're living in a lie. And you need to realize that. And all these guys that say we died for our country. You didn't die for your country. I'm sorry, you didn't. You died for a company, and you died for a bunch of guys, 50 to 75 or so, that are in a boardroom that don't know how to wipe their own ass. That's who you died for. To make them richer. And that's it. That's what you did. But you're not going to come to that point, in my opinion. I don't believe that you're going to do that. I believe you're going to hold on because you're petty. You're going to hold on to whatever power you believe, and that power is based on a lie, and we all know it. But you're going to pretend like it isn't because you've been told in leadership school that don't ever let them see you sweat. You've been told that. So you're never going to let anybody tell you see your sweat. You're sweating. You're going to never let anybody know that you've been lying this whole time. We know that. That's what the company teaches you. Also, the company, whatever you do find out, puts you under a non-disclosure agreement. We get that too. However, this is a matter of national security. So what we're trying to tell you here is this: your agreements don't apply because they all were created under one big lie. And just like anybody, just like the new covenant, got the arms out, ready to forgive. It's time to repent. It's time to stop those crimes and those lies. It's time to stop. It's time to come to repentance and come back to honor. And you'll feel a lot better. You're going to feel a lot of peace when you do that. If you do it. If not, well, there's certain things in the new covenant that you're not going to like. Murdering 60 million children is one of them. There's a big problem there. So it's a matter of repentance. That's what it is. This goes beyond company crap. This goes beyond nation states. This goes beyond everything. This goes to the spiritual part of it. And when you're thinking in the flesh and not in the spirit, you're going to be afraid and you're going to lie. You're going to live under that lie. And you're going to keep that lie until you die. And you have them till your last breath to come to the truth and come to honor. But until then, that's when you have to speak. You have to think in the spirit. We're trying to get you to understand that nobody wants to hang you. Nobody wants to put you in in the guillotines. Nobody wants to put you in gas chambers, and nobody wants to electrocute you. We're trying to get you to come to repentance. That's just the way it operates. That's the way the world is. Anything else you want to cover there, John?
No, sir, not anything else, I guess, except the fact that they can do whatever they want to out there, Keith. But they're the ones going to have to stand in judgment one day too.
That's exactly what I've been. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got to say, and that's it. Thank you.
You're gonna have to stand in judgment on that because this show tells you the truth. There's many parts of it that tell you the truth, and yes, it has to be started over. And yes, you have to start anew. And if you don't, there's a thing called Judgment Day. And I'm telling you, folks, I've been on this earth for a while, and I've seen John, and he's been on this earth for a while. There ain't nothing on this world worth eternity. Nothing. I don't care if it's the best piece of candy you ever had in your mouth. It's nothing on this earth worth your soul and worth your eternal life. There's nothing on this earth that's worth that. Eternity is a long freaking time, man.
Not worth it to me anyway.
Hell no. There ain't nothing here that's worth any of that. So, at any rate, thanks for listening. It's 137th to the 137th broadcast of the T-Row Show. We hope we get through to some people. Pass this out to the military. Pass this out to your guys. We're not trying to destroy you. We're trying to get you to come to repentance and get out of the lies. Get out of the freaking lies. No matter what force you put behind it, you can never make it true. It's just the way it works. And you're gonna fail for the rest of your life, and you will die failing. Believe me, we know. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.